Now, a Reform government would prosecute civil servants who have knowingly let foreign sex offenders into the country. It's a new story today. Under Nigel Farage's plan, civil servants would face up to 2 years in prison under a new criminal offence of dishonestly determining an asylum claim. It's one of those stories that you think, oh, that sounds like a really good idea. So let's delve a little bit deeper into it, shall we, with Reform UK Councillor for Westminster City Council, Laila Cunningham. Laila, really good to see you. Always good to see you. Laila, this is the story that's broke in the papers today from Nigel Farage. Tell us a bit more about this policy.
It's basically, we know now that civil servants have waived through asylum claims for foreign nationals who have known histories of sexual offending. Whistleblowers have come through and said, and I don't think the Home Office has actually denied it. And it's just to move the numbers on. They've said, just pressure, just pass it through. And you see that. I think asylums from Eritrea and Ethiopia are like 98%, over 90% approval rates. In fact, I think Afghan asylum applications, 99% were approved last year, which is mad because the amount of sexual assault by Afghani men, I think, has gone up by 20 times, something like that. And the reform policy is just clear. Any civil servant who knowingly allows a foreign sex offender to stay will be obviously sacked, but will lose all the benefits of being a civil servant. And should there be evidence, will also face prosecution. And I welcome it because I'm kind of sick and tired of people saying, oops, a 14-year-old girl got sexually assaulted. We know he was a problem. Sorry. Sorry does nothing for me. I think a lot of the British public feel that there is just no accountability at the top. It's the public actually that pays for their mistakes.
Your personal data could be exposed right now without you even knowing it. And if you want it removed, use incogni.com/GB News in the description now and get 60% off an annual plan on us. Incogni reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information be deleted from their databases. And they'll keep sending removal requests to make sure your data stays gone. Sometimes your information ends up on strange, obscure websites that automated tools just can't reach. And that's why Incogni just launched their unlimited plan with a feature called custom removals. With this, you can submit any link where your personal information appears, literally paste in the URL, and their privacy team will investigate and work to get it removed. And getting started is super easy. Hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account, and tell them whose data you want removed. Grant them permission to work on your behalf, and then all you've got to do is sit back and relax. They'll keep you updated along the way. Incogni is totally risk-free for 30 days. If you try it, it's not for you, you'll get a full refund. So take back control of your personal data today with Incogni. Use our code GBNews at checkout via the link in the description, and you'll get 60% off an annual plan.
Leigh, you're right on the figures. Official figures show that convictions of foreign nationals for sexual offences, including rape, have risen by 62% in 4 years. And Reform UK sources also highlight figures that show, for example, that Afghan nationals are more than 20 times more likely to be convicted of sex offences than British citizens. And we had, as you say, a whistleblower earlier on talking about how caseworkers were under so much pressure that they were just tick box exercises. And what more shocking, one senior Home Office caseworker was disciplined for refusing to prove an Afghan man's application because he had been arrested several times for indecently exposing himself in a children's playground. She, and it was a she, said, I'm not doing this, he shouldn't be in this country. She was pressurised to let him in.
Yeah, and I know, part of the policy is foreign nationals with convictions like those for sex offences will never be allowed asylum in the UK. It is actually mad that we have to say this. It should be policy anyway. Why have the Tories and the Labour Party allowed sex offenders to claim asylum in our country? Why? That is endangering women and girls, and rightly so they should be prosecuted from the top to the bottom, I think, because you know what? I vote to government to keep me safe, not to endanger me. And if they do the opposite, then I'm sorry, there has to be accountability, and there has not been so far.
Laila, is this another example of politicians putting votes before the safety of women and girls in this country?
I mean, yeah, I mean, not only votes, I think it's just putting, it's a headline, oh my God, the asylum claims have gone down by I don't know how much. The only reason why they've gone down is because they've got a 99% approval. There's obviously there's no conditions. You can be charged with sexual offences and you'll claim asylum. What country does that?
Well, this one, obviously.
Yeah.
Laila, obviously the $64,000 question is, how is it going to work? I gave you that example of the Home Office, the civil servant who said, the pressure is on. I'm being forced to do this. So technically it's not her fault. So why should she be the one to bear the brunt of it and be sacked and lose her pension?
Well, look, obviously the manager would also, but I was pressured to do it is no longer a defence, because then you can have the defence of, I had to get through a certain number. If you are going to be a civil servant and get all the benefits that come with being a civil servant, that is a responsibility. If your job in the civil service is to filter through people who could be a danger to this country, that is a huge responsibility. That is like being at the airport for Border Force. And if you don't want to do that with integrity and conviction and with the right intentions, then you shouldn't be in that job if it's too much for you.
Right, absolutely. Well, I mean, we shall see how it goes, don't we? I mean, it sounds like a brilliant idea, a great response from viewers and listeners at the moment. Makes perfect sense. It's whether you are strong enough to fight the blob should reform get into power. Laila, while I've got you, I just want to ask you about the other big story today, the story about Alaa Abd El-Fattah, the anti-Semite Egyptian, dual citizen, Egyptian-British citizen, who has been allowed back in the UK despite posting some horrendous stuff on social media about wanting to kill Jews, hating all white people and backing Osama bin Laden. What on earth is this government doing?
What on earth is this government doing? I mean, I think he praised, he praised Osama bin Laden. I think he encouraged people to burn Downing Street and attack the police. And he's welcomed by everyone. And not fringe figures. I mean, we're talking the Foreign Secretary, the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister said he was so focused on bringing him back. And let's not forget the Tories fought hard to bring him back. I think, they went to Cairo, they wanted to do a deal. I don't know, but it wasn't just the Labour Party. Listen, and reform is clear. You don't have to love every policy of this government. You don't even have to like the government. But if your public record is a full-on praise for terrorism and hatred, then you will not be allowed to set foot in this country. I
mean, Laila, I've heard her defence that we didn't, these posts are from sort of like 2010, 2012. We hadn't looked at the posts. But in 2014, it was actually turned down from withdrawn from a free speech prize because of his post. So it wasn't hidden. This was out there.
I mean, you just want the government to do basic due diligence, right? Which they're not doing. Anything less is a betrayal to us and to our safety. And I feel, but that's fine if that is the excuse, although I don't quite believe it. But now that his social media has been known, we still have the Labour government welcoming them. James Cleverly, just a few years ago, was, I'm pushing for him to return. Also, I correct me if I'm wrong, but he was given citizenship very quickly. He's not like a long-term citizen. He was given a citizenship due to his mother being a British person.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
And why are we giving citizenship to people who hate this country and want to destroy it?
Indeed.
Yet at the same time, arresting British people for tweets for saying a lot less.
Laila, if reform do get in at the next election, what would you do with him?
Revoke his citizenship. Imprison him for what he is. Anyone who denies the Holocaust and wants to commit terrorist offences or praises it has no place in this country.
Laila, thank you so much for joining us. That's much appreciated. That is Laila Cunningham, Reform UK Councillor for Westminster City Council. Thank you very much, Laila. And obviously, let me know what you think. Now, a government spokesperson has said Mr El-Fattah is a British citizen. It has been a long-standing priority under successive governments to work for his relief from detention and to see him reunited with his family in the UK. Meanwhile, Amnesty International said his pardon ends a grave injustice and a testament to the tireless efforts of his family and lawyers, including his courageous mum, Laila Suef, and activists all over the world who have been relentlessly demanding his release in the past 6 years.